Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. I'm Aisha, your host. Today in our series Quran, Is It Really the Word of God? We'll explore how the Quran gels with modern sciences. How does the Quran's discussion of scientific phenomena confirm its divine origin? And what kinds of scientific discoveries were first discussed in the Quran? Join me now as I sit down with Dr. Shabir and explore this subject. Welcome to the show, Dr. Shabir.
Pleasure to be on.
So as we're continuing our series on Quran, Is It Really the Word of God? How do modern sciences factor into this conversation?
Well, when we look at the Quran, we take it from its historical context as a 7th century book. But then, like all books written in the past, we would expect that many of their statements would be scientifically flawed, especially seeing that the Quran is not purportedly from a scientist, and it's not a scientific document. It's here as a religious text teaching us how to go to heaven, not how the heavens go. Now, if it's going to talk about how the heavens go, and you would expect it to make all kinds of mistakes. But in the case of the Quran, we're seeing on the contrary that many of its statements are surprising from the modern scientific point of view, because we see that these are things that we know now, and we're wondering how could somebody in the 7th century have known the kinds of things we know now to be able to put this information in such a precise manner.
So what are some of the examples?
Like, for example, when it talks about the creation of the heavens and the earth, أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا. Don't the non-believers see that the heavens and the earth were together as one piece? فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا, and then we split them asunder. That's in the 21st chapter of the Quran, the 30th verse. And now, this is saying that the heavens and the earth were together as one, and then God split them asunder. And in fact, today, this is what we believe. Well, knowing the Big Bang origin of the universe, everything was together as one, and then became separated into galaxies, and then stars and planets. So it's a very precise and accurate statement.
And what about, there's also reference to embryology and information that the Quran revealed that we don't know about, right?
Yeah, so now we're going from big to little, from the outside universe to
the
inside the mommy's tummy. And in fact, the Quran makes reference to the fact that God will show his signs in both of these realms. In the 41st chapter of the Quran, it says that we will show them our signs in the heavens and in themselves until it becomes clear to them that this is the truth. So now, turning to embryology, the study of the growth and development of the human embryo, we see that this is still a developing science, and for the large part of the Middle Ages, this was all clouded in mystery. Without the use of the microscope, you could not study the early stages of growth and development, even if you had an aborted early embryo.
And back in the day, this wouldn't have been possible?
No. I mean, the microscope was invented 1,000 years after the Quran was already a book being read in public. And the Quran makes statements which has amazed some modern researchers. For example, Dr. Maurice Bouquet in his book, The Bible, the Quran and Science, and Keith Moore, Professor Emeritus of the University of Toronto, a specialist in the field of embryology. He has written many textbooks, including clinical embryology, and his textbooks are studied in universities throughout the Western world. He says that he was amazed at the scientific accuracy of some of these statements, which obviously were made already in the 7th century. So if you have time, we can give some examples
of course, please go ahead.
This. Well, the Quran speaks about the embryo going through different stages and then finally made into a new creation. And it's interesting that when we look at the embryo, we see that it looks like different things over time. At one stage, it looks like a fish. But it's only later on that it starts to look like a human being, like a human baby. And that it coincides with what the Quran says. The Quran speaks about going through different stages and then names some of the stages. It says, for example, nutfa, which is a tiny drop. And elsewhere, the Quran says that it is a selection from that tiny drop. And now we know that it is not all of the male's fluid that causes contraception, but it's only a minor, like a minuscule selection out of the whole. The Quran says that God created you from nutfatin amshajin, which means mingled fluid, And we know today that it's the fusion of male and female contributions. Whereas in the Middle Ages, what is now common knowledge to us, this was not known. In the Middle Ages, there were scientists who thought that there is a tiny human baby contained within the male sperm, and then that baby just simply grows and gets bigger. Some others thought that no, the tiny baby is actually contained in the ovum of the mother, but they didn't understand that there is a fertilization and then cell division, leading eventually to the creation of the zygote and then eventually the human embryo.
And the Quran already references all of this.
Using very precise terminology, not full scientific descriptions to be sure, because that's not the kind of book the Quran is. It's not a scientific textbook, but it is drawing our attention to our humble beginnings. And by the way, it is like using this kind of terminology just thrown in there, like scattered pearls, and we're just discovering them now. So the Quran speaks about the various stages and names some of them, like alaqa, created you from a thing that clings. And we know that the human embryo at a very early stage, like at 24 years old, really is like a thing that clings. It's like a leech to begin with. In terms of its outward shape, it clings to the uterus of the mother, so that's what a leech does. That's what alaqa in Arabic means, a leech. And it at the same time draws the blood from the mother's uterus, which is what a leech would do if it sticks to your body. Then the Quran says that from that thing that clings, God made you into a mudgha, which is a chewed lump in Arabic. And indeed, when you look at the human embryo at 28 days old, it looks like if you had chewed on something with the teeth marks impressed upon it. That's how the human embryo looks. And at 28 days old, it's only the size of a grain of rice. So without the use of a microscope, you wouldn't know what you're looking at.
Very powerful imagery. Thank you so much, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
Hey YouTube, we hope you benefited from this video. If you liked it, or if you didn't, let us know in the comments below. And if you're interested in learning more, check out some of our other videos. And don't forget to subscribe so you can get new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.